Okay, so we're live streaming now. Very good.
Yes,
Well,
we
then
are.
I'll just, so we've started the meeting, but I'll just once again welcome all those who are joining us by the live stream this evening. We're glad that you're here. So I'm on item 4 in the agenda, the appointment of a Port Elgin Ward Councillor. And I have a brief statement to read here, and I'll do that now. The office of Port Elgin Ward Councillor was declared vacant in accordance with section 2621 of the Municipal Act on February 24th, 2022. Council authorized the vacancy to be filled by appointment, and notice was posted inviting interested individuals who are qualified electors of Saugeen Shores to submit an application and supporting documentation. The candidates were also asked to submit a personal statement along with providing a written response to prepared questions. During this meeting, candidates will be provided an opportunity to present their opening statement and respond to a question, following which council members will cast their votes by verbally stating the name of the candidate. The candidate receiving more than 1/2 of the votes of the voting members of council will be appointed to fill the vacancy effective upon passing the appointment bylaw. So we'll move on then to our motion, which is a resolution to nominate the candidates. And I have a resolution that the following individuals who have signified in writing that they are legally qualified to hold office and consented to accept the office if they are appointed to fill the vacancy, be considered for appointment to fill such vacancy. Richard Beckett, Bill Inkster, Catherine Diane Minnie Jakes, Brent Arnold Proud, Jennifer Rawlinson, Neil Sargentson, Tara Lee Smith, and Rachel Stack. Is there a mover and seconder for the resolution? Moved by Grace, seconded by the Vice Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. All right, I will now turn the meeting over to the clerk, who will facilitate the presentations and questions of the candidates. The clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, council and candidates. I'd like to thank each of the candidates for their applications and time and effort to prepare for this evening. Each of the candidates will now be provided the opportunity to present their opening comments to council. Each candidate will have up to 3 minutes to present their opening comments. A virtual hand will be raised to signal the 15-second remaining mark. A second virtual hand will be raised at the 3-minute mark, and I will verbally indicate 3 minutes. And if anyone purposely exceeds the 3 minutes, their microphone will be muted. So immediately following the candidate's opening comments, I will ask the candidates one question. The question has been randomly selected from the list of questions that was pre-circulated to the candidates for their written response. Council has reviewed the candidates' written responses to the questions, and tonight is an opportunity for the candidates to verbally respond to one of the questions that we've selected for them. Each candidate is now on Zoom meeting with their camera and microphone off, and I'll call upon the candidate when it's your turn, and we have the randomly selected speakers list. So our first speaker tonight is Neil Sargentson. Neil, can you please turn on your camera and your microphone?
Good evening.
Good
evening,
evening,
Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for listening tonight and hearing me. Since moving to Port Elgin in October, I've definitely become a proud member of the community and both Port Elgin and Saugeen Shores. The buy local has definitely gone well in this household, and the local businesses finish my basement are very happy to see me every day. From my background, very much on LinkedIn, but I have a broad background in IT and procurement, as well as business operations. I would love to be a counselor to be able to work with staff and work with council to help Saugeen Shores grow, and more importantly, to make a difference. In closing my brief statements tonight, last time when Mr. Davinsky was elected, I asked you all to take a chance on me this time. And since then, I've been daydreaming about being a counselor. So, in the name of the monkeys, if you vote for me tonight, you'll make me a daydream believer. Thank you very much for hearing me, and good luck to all the other candidates.
Thank you, Neil. So the question that we've selected randomly for you is, and if you have your notes there, it is question number 4. The question is, if you received $1 million unconditional grant to use for the town in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
Thank you very much. I would split the money in two halves. The first would be $500,000 towards attracting more remote workers to the company, but not just remote workers. We have in Saugeen Shores a very strong internet base. I've been working at home since I got here. By attracting remote workers, we'd increase our tax base, but also remote workers are often quite technical in nature. Challenging them to come up with new ideas could perhaps create something unique and new to Saugeen Shores or Canada or the world. Perhaps the next Shopify could be created out of this. The second would be $500,000 to work with staff and council and the other regions on public transportation, something for a new startup. As we're moving forward, cars are becoming autonomous. Buses and trains are costly. Perhaps there's a new model out there that we could create through an autonomous sort of public transportation that could pick people up at their doors, could drop people off in other parts of the region that would be far less costly than traditional buses or trains. So creating a study towards that and perhaps creating something that the world could be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So if we have your camera off, we'll go on to the next speaker. The next speaker is Bill Inkster. Bill, can you turn your camera and your audio on? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Linda. Good evening, council and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. What attracted me to take a role in municipal politics? Over the last 43 years, I've been a resident of Port Elgin. And I've seen many councils come and go. I've seen different interests and amalgamation of the municipalities. Some poor policy decisions and some good policy decisions. I believe it's time for conscientious governance. And lately, we've been very lucky with low interest rates, low inflation, a good quality of life for the most part. Unfortunately, the last cost of living allowance numbers surpassed 5%, with no indication it's about to slow. Real estate has increased significantly, and the supply chain is disrupted. Hopefully, the new normal doesn't start with a recession. In 1979, my wife and I, excuse me, bought our first home in Port Elgin with an 11.25% interest rate. Shortly thereafter, they took off to 20%. The stock market has had two recent crashes, one in 2020, another in 2007. Investment companies say there's been 24 in my adult life. With potentially harder times ahead, I bring to council a wealth of personal experience gained from surviving these economic crises. I had a 38-year successful career as an employee and a contractor. I earned the respect of my subordinates, peers, impressed some supervisors. And I'm sure in time, I've incensed a few people who perhaps really deserved it. In 1998, my wife and I launched our successful rental business, both long-term tenancies and short-term rentals catering to tourists, temporary workforce, locum doctors, families relocating to our community. We understand the diversity of housing in our community. People both work and play in Saugeen Shores as residents, transients, and tourists, all with varying needs and wants. I bring to council the understanding of what this community needs to prosper, as in, I may want an exotic car, I drive a pickup truck. Hence my interest in joining council. I hope you agree. I promise to respect statutes, personalities, and opinions while injecting honesty and integrity to support sound decisions to maintain the town of Saugeen Shores as a confident and vibrant community. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, the question that we have selected for you randomly is question number 2, if you're referring to your notes. And that question is, council members are appointed to various committees throughout the term on council. What 2 committees are you interested in serving on and why?
Well, first I'd like to start to say that in the 90s, I was a member of the Waterfront Committee. And I found the people on the committee were passionate about the mandate, and dedicated to the results. I'd expect the same on all committees. I understand there are probably some more committees than I'm aware of, but I have a diverse portfolio of experience that I would bring to any committee and a willingness to learn more about the details of the committee's mandates and their direction. As council's representative, I have experience in both giving direction to a meeting and bringing information back from participants. About 15 years of experience. I know there are holes left by my predecessor's resignation, and I would gladly fill these holes. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can get you to turn your camera off.
Yep.
Our next speaker is Richard Beckett. Richard, if you can turn your camera and your microphone. Welcome, Richard. You may begin.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Richard. I've lived here in Port Elgin for almost 2 years now, and I run the Giant Tiger store on Goderich Street. A bit about me. I grew up in England. I moved to Canada in 2007 on a 12-month working holiday visa. I liked being here so much that I wanted to stay once my 12 months are up. I then spent the next few years living out west on a series of working visas. I became a permanent resident in 2012 and then a citizen in 2016. During the last 15 years in Canada now, I've lived in 5 different provinces in both big cities and small towns across the country before I relocated to Port Elgin with my current employer. I know that I'm not a lifelong resident of Saugeen Shores, which could definitely be seen as a weakness, but I would counter that by saying I have a wealth of experience from living in many different sized communities across Canada. I've been retail manager for almost 20 years now. I've worked with several different big box companies before I joined Giant Tiger 3 years ago in London before moving here in 2020. In this role, I've had the chance to meet several members of the community and sponsored and made donations to several of the charities and events around town. I have quite a lot of experience in running businesses. Now, I know that you can't run a town the same way you run a business, but there are a lot of similarities like budgeting, problem solving, planning for the future, as well as working with lots of different people towards a common goal. I'll admit that I have absolutely zero experience in local politics. The closest that I came to that is spending 3 years on my condo board when I lived in London. But I do have a degree in politics from Leeds University. I'm not sure how much use that can be, but at least I know all the theories. So I've led a pretty nomadic life so far, both personally and professionally, but I feel that it's been leading me to where I am today as part of this community. I'm definitely here for the long term, and I'm eager to help out with the continuing development of the town. And I want to play my part in making people's lives better. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. The question we've selected for you is question number 4 in your notes. The question is, if you received $1 million unconditional grant to use for the town any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
Yes, I have a pretty simple answer to that question. I would use all of the money on issuing chamber bucks to be distributed amongst all the households. After the last couple of years, I feel that it's very important to help out local businesses, all of whom have been affected by the pandemic. Giving each household roughly $400 to spend within the town, I think would make a huge difference to the local stores and the restaurants that have struggled badly over the last 2 years. I feel this is a better idea rather than wasting it on a grand gesture or fixing one specific problem. Giving out what is effectively free money with strings attached will not only pay back the people who have lived here throughout the last 2 years, but also keep the money in the local economy. It's simple and it's also unbelievably democratic. It would help literally every single resident in a small way.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Turn off your camera. Our next speaker is Jennifer Rowlandson. Jennifer?
Hello.
Hi, Jennifer, you may begin.
Yes, thank you. So I have lived in Port Elgin since 2007 when we moved from the GTA. At that time, I have got a position as a public health nurse at the local health unit. I still work as a public health nurse. And during the 15 years that I have had this position, I've worked on various committees in the community. So I have been the coordinator of the Grey Bruce Anti-Human Trafficking Committee. I've held positions on the Poverty Task Force, the Drug and Alcohol Strategy, Opioid Working Group, Healthy Community Partnerships, interagency committees. Personally, I'm married with 3 children, and I sit on the Saugeen Shores figure skating executive locally. I'm interested in this position. What really sparked my interest was being a frontline worker in the last 2 years during the pandemic. So every time we came to this community to do vaccine clinics, you guys or we have the most engaging citizens that work here. We always had people that were willing to sign up and volunteer at these clinics. And it was so inspiring to me that now that we are in a recovery mode, it really meant something to me to also give back to the community after seeing how engaged the people are that live here. It's been really inspiring to me. I have a real passion for youth, addictions, poverty, and social determinants of health. I think my time in public health has taught me a lot about the constraints of working in a public position and also the pace sometimes that can be a bit more difficult. During the pandemic, I did an interim management position rolling out the vaccine program locally. And I think that position really gave me a good idea about budgeting, mandates, and also being accountable to the public. That was a really public rollout. So I was dealing with not only public complaints, but also so many stakeholders and people that were involved to roll out this absolutely massive undertaking. And I think we did it really, really well. So that gave me lots of experience doing that. I've also recently gotten a job just like as a surge nurse for a federal job for Indigenous Services Canada. So I will be flying to remote Indigenous reserves. So I'm hoping that can give me a really well-rounded position, and I'm hoping to learn a lot from these communities that I'm going to go and visit. So that's it for me personally.
Okay, thank you. So the question that has been selected for you is question number 4 from your notes, and question number 1, my apologies.
No trouble.
The question is, council members have the ability to bring forward motions to implement positive change. As a council member, what idea or concept would you bring forward and why?
The positive change that I would want to bring forward is a renewed sense of community. So after spending the last 2 years in the pandemic with so many constraints, it has, I would say probably in the last year especially, created a lot of divisiveness, not just in our community, but across all of Canada. So I'd love to see during this recovery time a renewed sense of empowerment and empathy in Port Elgin and Saugeen Shores. So I'd love to bring forward a motion to increase some funding to really be made available to the community to have activities and just more things to bring people back downtown and together and create joyful moments now that we can really be together. And like I said, renew that sense. I'd also love to have some community engagement. So survey businesses, survey youth, community members, clubs, schools, everybody, to see what would they love to see this year and what would bring them joy and what do they think would bring people together again. Some ideas I had were like the beach festivals, downtown activities, a really big Christmas celebration, just some ideas, but I'd love to hear what the people in the community want to have.
Thank you, Jennifer. If you can turn your camera off. Our next speaker is Tara Leah Smith. And if Tara can turn on her camera and audio.
Hi.
Hi, you may begin.
Thanks. Hi. So I'm the person that's from out of town, but I've been spending my summers in Port Elgin since I was a teenager. I've rented the same house right at the beach for, oh gosh, like 35 years. And 2 years ago, I bought my own home, and it's been great. Come June, when I finish up with my business here, I will be living in Saugeen Shores indefinitely, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm very local driven, whether I'm here or whether I'm up there. I am all about community and downtown and local business and supporting and bringing money back into the community. Casual Corners can vouch for that. I've taken part in a lot of their online sales, maybe too much during the pandemic. I know that some people view someone that didn't grow up there or was born and raised there as a negative. But I actually think that that can be a great positive, because I am I'm part of this community and I love it with all my heart, but I am a bit removed. So if council had some tough decisions to make, I would go with what was best for what the council thinks is best for the town, versus having like an aunt that's going to be super mad at me for voting a way that maybe somebody doesn't like. So I think there's positives and negatives to being from out of town. Sorry. I've lived through a neighborhood here that has gone through big changes that people didn't like, from being a very small area to having a large development happening that people fought. So I understand what's going on there with development being such an issue. And I've survived it to say that we've come out through the other side, and it's been the best thing for the community. We have a more vibrant neighborhood strip with restaurants and food, and I think that positive change brings more positive change. I am a quick learner. I know I haven't been on council. I've been on many committees. I've done volunteer work. I've been on board of directors for local community groups throughout the years. I'm a quick learner. I'm a great listener. I'm a bit of a talker. I feel that it's important for people of the community to know that they're being heard. I know that something that seems like a small issue for me is a huge issue for someone else. So I think it's important for a council member to be able to listen and then work together with the community to find a mutually satisfactory goal. I think it's important to have good working relationships. I have with every job I've ever had. I get along with people. I imagine that I'd be great on a council. Yeah, I like zero drama. I like to get stuff done. I'm very positive. I think it's important to work together to have goals for a vibrant future for Port Elgin and Southampton and Saugeen Shores.
Thank you, Tara. So the question that we've selected for you is question number 1. And the question is, council members have the ability to bring forward motions to implement positive change. As a council member, what idea or concept would you bring forward and why?
What I answered with my question was towards recycling. I felt like I would love to see more services. As a member, I'd bring forward a motion to add cardboard to the pickup service and investigate having a green bin and organic bin program. I know there is an option to take your cardboard, which I do, but I know that a lot of people don't do that or can't do that. And as you know, if you live in an apartment building, where does it all go? Usually in the dumpster, and then into the landfill. I think a green bin program would cut down on waste, as so many items that end up in the landfill can be recycled, like food waste, paper napkins, paper towels, tissues, coffee grounds, paper plates, house plants, pet waste, diapers, feminine hygiene products. So as the area becomes more developed, there's going to be more and more need for a great garbage and recycling system. And also more garbage cans around town. Like if you're down at the beach on a Saturday, it's overflowing onto the ground, which again, that's people making bad choices. But if we had perhaps more bins and some recycling systems set up at the public areas, hopefully people would get into using them. I also just want to say I answered a lot of my questions without going and reading through the previous minutes. And I know some of the issues that I've answered in my questions have been approved or people are working on them, but I wanted to answer them honestly with my thoughts and my vision of what a town growing needs versus finding something that like to pander to the council. So in case you like, I know that they've approved funding for certain things, and I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. So our next speaker is Catherine Diane Minnie Jakes. If we can get Minnie to turn on her camera and her microphone.
Here I am.
Okay, sounds good. You may begin.
Thank you. I'm just going to start there. So I just wanted to let people know that may be watching, or those that are also applied to the vacancy, to just know a little bit of who I am. I'm a 61-year-old, semi-retired marketing and communications specialist, and also a small business owner. And I've been a community volunteer for 36 years here in the town of Port Elgin and the municipality of Saugeen Shores. And my purpose has always been, professionally and as a volunteer, to help others to improve their lives and to reach their full potential, both professionally and personally. Every job, volunteer experience, or tasks I've successfully taken on has been to help residents and visitors enjoy our community, no matter the income, no matter their income or their age. And I feel applying for this position also helps me to do that as well. It's one of the reasons I created, as Port Elgin's first tourism coordinator, the branding and slogan for the town of Saugeen Shores as a great place to live, work, and play, which I continued to market and promote when we had the amalgamation in 1998. And I'm pleased to see that it's still being utilized by the town of Saugeen Shores and the Chamber of Commerce, of which I worked representing 400 businesses as the town's first tourism coordinator. And I've also been an observer of countless council meetings in the last 35 years and presented many deputations on behalf of the chamber, various ad hoc committees that I was on for the town, as well as many events and festivals. I sort of went through and looked at what relevant experience I had that was sort of pertaining to what a councillor would be doing. For housing and development, I now represent 5 income properties. I was also a member of the Attainable Housing and Task Force Committee, which presented to council, as you know, 36 recommendations, which I see that council is working through, as well as I was also a sales and marketing rep for the Edinburgh Club. So I have unique perspective from a developer and a builder's perspective to see that side. So I think that will help as being a member of council. And I was also on the Waterfront Committee from 2011 to 2013 and set up many public meetings, talking to 21 stakeholder groups, as well as doing surveys and going through those. So I have a lot of background as to what the public wants at the waterfront, which I think would help as well. From economic and development standpoint, I was on the Economic Development Town Committee as well. And I also am on the Accessibility Committee since 2007, and I'm interested in aging in place and working with our council to make sure that people can actually come here as young adults and move through to their later years and be able to age in place and live in their community.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So the question that we've selected for you is question number 2. And it is, council members are appointed to various committees throughout the term on council. What 2 committees are you interested in serving on and why?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Okay. So the first one doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean it can't. I'd like to see an ad hoc committee done for the Saugeen Shores Adult 55, a strategic plan, as that's one of our largest population groups within our community. And I'm sure when the census comes out April 16th, that'll show the demographics and income. I think we'll see that it's also growing. And I know that's an area that we're promoting as well as a retiree community. I'd like to look to see that we actually have the funds in place and the resources for the 55 plus group, as well as our residents have a range of housing, which we know is an issue as well for seniors of all ages and all incomes, but specifically seniors wanting to downsize or having to move from maybe a market home to actual a rental house as well. I'd like to see that there's outreach and sharing of information. One of the things when I work on various committees is people are always, especially seniors, saying to me, I didn't hear about that, I don't know. So looking at ways that we can reach the seniors, get the messages out that are clear and that they're up to date on if they don't have the technology. And also support additional transportation research, which was already mentioned, as many of our seniors in our community are having issues with just getting around town, taxis, that type of thing. You can wait, as I know personally, for 20 minutes for a cab or a ride. There's no bus system. So I'd like to see if infrastructure wise, we could work with the county and doing a transportation system. And the other one committee that I'd like to look at is the Recreation Center committee, and look that all ages and all incomes would be able to use the center through programming, as well as look at to see what recreational options would be there for the lower income middle class as well, that they would be able to actually afford and use it. As we all know, if you're healthy, you won't be standing in the doctor's office, you won't be visiting the emergency ward. So it would be a benefit to the entire community to be able to make sure that all ages are included in the rec center for programming.
Thank you. You can turn your camera off. We will have our next speaker. The next speaker is Rachel Stack.
Okay, just making sure there we go.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm hoping, sorry, the camera's a bit close to me because otherwise you'd see a series of boxes in my back room. So I'm just trying to protect you from that. So thank you for letting me participate again. So I know I'm probably at this point a bit old hat at this. This is my second time in a couple of months in front of everybody. But I think it just sort of demonstrates that I have a lot of interest in this role, and I think that bears repeating. So that's why I'm here today. So just a quick refresher about me. So I've lived here just under 10 years. So what that means to me is I'm going to be here, barring any sort of unplanned life changes, for at least another 20 to 30, which means, like, from my perspective, I've come to Port Elgin at the close of a major sort of refurbishment at Bruce Power, which had a pretty distinct impact on the community. Home prices were cheaper, everything was a bit different, and now we're sort of going through this second revitalization, and you're seeing that in the way that the community's grown. So I think, as a member of the community now and for the next at least 20 to 40 years, I'd like to be part of that change and do my part to participate in the policymaking process that will ultimately help shape at the community level. So by way of just kind of quick refresher about me, so I have a reasonably diverse background. So when I started my official adult life after university, I spent a couple of years in Queen's Park, first as an intern, and then again as an MPP's executive assistant. Then I followed that with an MA, spent some time as a teaching assistant. So that experience together has really sort of opened my eyes to not only the challenges of working in political offices, but also just how to engage with the community appropriately and how to manage a variety of positive and negative feedback that may come towards the community. Following that time, after my MA, I went back to school again, went to law school, spent a good amount of time there when I wasn't in school proper, working in the family court system for the underprivileged in the community. And I think that, showed me really just I knew the impacts that access to strong communities and wealth and privilege can provide you, but that time there really sort of cemented it in a very real way that the things you see in that court system in Toronto are pretty dramatic in the family court system. So definitely opened my eyes, and then combined with some experience I had in my MA, sort of really shaped the type of person I am and how I see social issues and community issues. So following that, I graduated, and then that's when I began my time here. So as I noted previously, originally thought I was only going to be here for a couple of years. That's since changed. So I graduated from law school, moved up here, practiced law for several years, and have spent the last 5 or 6 years in supply chain roles across the organization. So most recently in negotiations. And so I think altogether, I think I have a good set of experience that could really yield some benefits for the community, and excited at the opportunity. Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. The question we've selected for you is question number 3. And that question is, what do you see as the 3 to 5 priorities council should consider in 2023?
Yeah, sure. So I had 4 priorities, and it really all relates to kind of community development and access and accessibility in particular. So one is just really snow removal. I think obviously priority is the roads, but I had an experience recently where we were walking on Bricker Street, and there was an older woman. She was in her late 80s, I think. She was in a walker, and it was late afternoon, and she was struggling to move through the ice because the walkways hadn't been properly cleared. So I'd love to look at whether there's an opportunity to enhance our walkway clearing. Obviously, I know there's financial constraints, but I think there's a real opportunity there to improve access for folks. I'd like to look at developing a recreational fund for residents who may require some financial assistance to access some of our community resources, particularly, if we eventually end up with a YMCA type of situation or access to a pool and there may be increased costs. I'd love to see recreational funds, particularly as we see more wealth coming into the community. If you're not wealthy, if you don't have a good job, if you don't have access to those types of resources, it can really create a lot of distance between you and the rest of the community. Roadway safety. So I think there's some reckless driving issues in the community. Speed continues to be a problem on the side streets. And I think the United Way had actually mentioned that in some of their recent campaigns, targeting some of those types of driving behaviors that can affect the safety of the community. And then I think just further study and action on other recreational facilities. So again, you all know better than I that we've, been challenged for years to figure out what we're going to do with the pool. So I'd like to really support that and focus on that a bit further and see what we can do. Because, again, as the community grows, we need to reckon with the changes that we're going to have to make to some of our recreational infrastructure, as well as the way we're planning our community in terms of development. So the more opportunity I have to participate in that planning process would be great for me. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Our next speaker is Brent Proud. Brent, if you can turn on your camera and your audio.
Thank you, Linda, for not using my middle name. All right. Good evening, Mayor Charbonneau and fellow councillors. I appreciate the time that you took to review the previous materials that I submitted. I'm thankful for the opportunity to address you this evening for the consideration of the Port Elgin Ward Councillor. It is the Ward of Maples. There is a quote out there, only the giants go to the Bruce. They were right. We're all giants in Saugeen Shores. I grew up in Bruce County in Teeswater, son of a United Church minister, and have come back home to make a difference here in the land of giants. I know the area well. I grew up and played and camped and did several activities in and around Saugeen Shores over the years. And I continue to appreciate Saugeen Shores more and more every day. The heart and soul of this community is friendly and supportive. When we just moved here in December of last year, even in a blinding snowstorm, a counselor stopped to talk to my wife on the walk to discuss the town and future growth of Saugeen Shores by 2030. It made us feel welcome straight away. From the early history of Saugeen Shores, the residents built a vibrant and resilient town on the foundation of a quality of life, work, and recreation, all the while preserving the environment. And now, in these unprecedented times with COVID hopefully passing shortly, affordable housing pressures, rapid growth, diversifying the economy, needing to build out our infrastructure, the pools, and preserving the environment, we must balance our financial resources among these challenges to continue to build what we were given. We must rely on our community residents and leverage our relationships outside of Saugeen Shores to find pragmatic solutions to our problems. It is fitting and appropriate that Saugeen Shores Council act on the challenges we are facing. Some of these choices and challenges are popular, some are not. By reading some of the most recent announcements in Shoreline Beacon and on the Saugeen Shores websites. For the betterment of Saugeen Shores, we cannot stand still and hope for the best by not acting. We will regret it. While it will not be easy, I assure you I will work with staff, council, the community, Saugeen, Ojibwe Nation, and business leaders to act in the direction that improves Saugeen Shores for everyone. We must take controlled and measured actions to enable Saugeen Shores to grow in accordance with the values we cherish. Residents and visitors alike enjoy their time here and in the neighborhoods in and around Saugeen Shores. As councillors, really we're custodians. We must continue to nurture Saugeen Shores forward by balancing bylaws, services, economic development, population change, taxes, the relationship with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, and the environment, amongst other influences, to the needs of the residents of what they deserve now and in the future. We have to find the sweet spot on all these issues. As Port Elgin Ward Councillor, I pledge to work and act alongside you on challenges and decisions that face Saugeen Shores. I will bring the focus.
Okay, we've reached the 3-minute mark.
All right.
Thank you very much for that, Brent. So the question that we randomly selected for you is question number 3. And the question is, what do you see as the 3 to 5 priorities council should consider in 2023?
All right. In my response, I had referenced the most recent article about the popularity of Saugeen Shores being one of the top 10 places in Canada to where people have been moving to. So given the status of what and the pressure Saugeen Shores has been going through, certainly affordable housing has to be on the table as one of the top priorities, and putting a sustainable growth framework, whether it be, identifying key infrastructure that needs to be built and or replaced and or enabled through partnerships to promote growth and environmental sustainability. That goes right into the third priority, environmental stewardship. We see a number of actions actions in front of council related to subdivision developments that are being taken into account with the environment, and that needs to continue to be the forefront of any decision that the council takes care of. I think the fourth piece is the outreach and collaboration with the Saugeen Shores Ojibwe Nation, or Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, and continue the economic development initiatives and frameworks that have been enabled most recently in the last couple of months through council. And then finally, the historical and heritage preservation. We have to value where we've come from and what we do with the heritage landscape that we do have here, and ensuring that it's preserved for the future is important.
Thank you, Brent. I'd ask you to turn off your camera. And at this point, I want to just reiterate that I want to thank each of the candidates for the presentations, and again for your time and your effort in submitting your written responses to each of the questions. So this concludes the candidates' presentations. All the candidates are to remain in the meeting with your camera and your microphone off. And at this point, we'll move to the next section of our agenda, which is to vote for the candidates to be appointed. So this evening, we have 8 members of council present. Council members will vote by way of an open vote stating the name of their preferred candidate. The order in which the council members shall vote has been randomly selected. I'm just going to take a moment to share my screen.
I just wonder, before you go on, I wonder if would members like a 5-minute recess before we take the vote, or are you content to just go right into the vote? We'll take a 5-minute recess. Why don't we, council, just recess until 7:50, and then we'll proceed to the voting. Okay.
Okay, 1 minute till we reconvene. Do you want to stop sharing or do I do that? Mr. Mayor, we've reached 7:50 if you want to reconvene.
We'll reconvene and I'll turn it back over to you, Linda.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to conduct the voting now. And again, I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen? You may have to move your videos over, but so as mentioning, we have 8 members of the council present this evening. 8 members will vote by stating the name of the preferred candidate, and the order in which the council will vote has been randomly selected, which is listed across the top of the ballot of your screen. So the order is, and I'm just going to run through this, is Councillor Carr, Councillor Smith, Mayor Charbonneau, Councillor Grace, Deputy Mayor Matheson, Councillor Mayette, Vice Deputy Mayor Mayette, Councillor Davinsky. When I call the names of the council members, the member shall state the first and last name of the candidate that they vote for, and I will mark an X on the member's vote. The vote will be tallied in the right-hand column. We have 8 members voting. The candidate receiving more than 1/2 of the votes will be appointed. Therefore, the candidate receiving 5 or more votes will be appointed to fill the vacancy. If a candidate does not receive 5 or more votes in the first round of voting, the candidates receiving 0 votes will be eliminated from the second round of voting. If a candidate does not receive 5 or more votes in the second round, the candidate receiving the least amount of votes will be eliminated from the third round of voting. And if there is a tie for the least amount of votes, then we'll place the names of the candidates tied for the least amount of votes in a container, and the name drawn from the container will be eliminated from the next round. And so the voting will continue until the candidate receives 5 or more votes. And if in the event that there is on the final ballot, it results in a tie, the names will be put in a container and the name drawn will be appointed. So if we have all the members being able to see the ballot, we'll start with the voting. And I'll start with Councillor Carr.
Rachel Stack.
Councillor Smith.
Jennifer Rowlandson.
Mayor Charbonneau.
Minnie Jakes.
Councillor Grace.
I tried that, it didn't work. Minnie Jakes.
Deputy Mayor Matheson.
Diane Jakes.
Councillor Mayette.
Diane Minnie Jakes.
Vice Deputy Mayor Mayette.
Diane Minnie Jakes.
Councillor Davinsky.
Minnie Jakes.
We have Diane Minnie Jakes receiving 6 votes. Therefore, Diane Minnie Jakes will be appointed as the Port Elgin Ward Councillor. I will ask Minnie Jakes to turn on her camera to be recognized for appointments. And I'll turn the meeting over to Mayor Charbonneau.
Thank you, Linda, and congratulations, Minnie. Welcome to council. I want to say as well, thank you to all of the folks who put their names forward this evening. You all spoke so well, and any one of you could have represented the town of Port Elgin and the town of Saugeen Shores on council. And so I just want to encourage you all to continue to be involved in our community. You're really tremendous representatives of our community. So thank you. And once again, thank you to you, Minnie, and congratulations. And the first step in the formal process of making you a member of Saugeen Shores Council is that we pass a bylaw. And I have a resolution that bylaw 22, 2022, being a bylaw to appoint Minnie Jakes, Catherine Diane Minnie Jakes, to fill the vacant Port Elgin Ward Councillor position is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 23rd day of March 2022. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by the Vice Deputy Mayor, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? That's carried. Okay. And then we have another bylaw, the confirmatory bylaw, and I have a resolution that bylaw 23, 2022, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 23rd day of March 2022. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Grace, seconded by Davidsky. All in favor? That is carried. Maybe, and I was remiss, I passed that bylaw one step too soon. I should have asked you, Minnie, if you have any words you'd like to say to us now that we have confirmed your appointment.
Just like to say thank you for the opportunity and thank you to those who supported me, and for all members on council. I look forward to working with you and working with staff for the benefit of Port Elgin Ward and the community of Saugeen Shores. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, and so that brings us to adjournment, and I have a resolution that this appointment council meeting of March 23rd, 2022 hereby adjourns at 7:57 p.m. As our mover and seconder, Madison and Carr. All in favor? Council stands adjourned. Thank you all very much and have a good evening.